A very small percentage of men know about the secrets that I'm going to share with you now regarding single women. And as a result, they feel confident around attractive women. They know their secrets. Yet, the vast majority of men do not know the secrets that I'm going to share with you now. And as a result, they lack confidence around single women. The man just doesn't know where he stands with her. Does she like me? Is she interested in sex? Is she interested in a relationship? She's not making it obvious. And as a result, he doesn't feel confident about his chances of getting her out on a date, for example. So let's begin with the first secret that single women hide from men. Most act like they're hard to get, but are secretly easy. A great example of this is the study that was done at Florida State University. What happened is that the researchers got a bunch of students to approach other students one at a time, and the physical attractiveness of the male and female approaches ranged from slightly unattractive to moderately attractive. So in other words, the students doing the approaching weren't really good looking. They were just average looking or slightly below average looking. So here's what the approacher said, whether they were a man or a woman. I've been noticing you around campus. I find you to be very attractive. Then the approacher asked one of the following questions. Would you go out with me tonight? Would you come over to my apartment tonight? Would you go to bed with me tonight? So in other words, I've been noticing you around campus. I find you to be very attractive. Would you come over to my apartment tonight? Here are the results of the study. 56% of the women said yes when the guy asked, would you go out with me tonight? Now, she didn't know anything else about him other than him saying, I've been noticing you around campus. I find you to be very attractive. Would you go out with me tonight? 56% of the women said yes, whereas 50% of the men said yes. With the other question, would you come over to my apartment tonight? 6% of women said yes, 69% of men said yes. And finally, would you go to bed with me tonight? None of the women said yes, whereas 75% of the men said yes. In other words, women don't want to immediately say yes to sex, but more than half will immediately say yes to going on a date, even though they don't know anything about the guy. That's a good example because if guys saw those girls walking around on their own, the girls would almost certainly be displaying body language that suggested they didn't want to be approached or that they would be hard to get. Yet 56% of them immediately said yes to going out on a date with a guy who said, I've been noticing you around campus. I find you to be very attractive. Would you go out with me tonight? And they said yes. The thing is though, the results of that study don't necessarily mean that a guy should go into a shopping mall and walk up to a woman shopping and say, hey, I've been noticing you around the shopping mall. I think you're very attractive. Would you go out with me tonight? Because that's a different environment, right? In a university environment, for example, there is a certain level of safety for the woman because the guy is a fellow student, right? If he asks for her number or if she goes out on a date with him, there is protection because they're part of the same university. Yet in a shopping mall, pretty much everyone there is a stranger, right? She doesn't know who the man is who has said that he's been noticing her around the shopping mall. Does that mean that he's a stalker? What has he been doing? Has he been following her around and so on? So when a man is in different social environments such as a bar, club, house party, a shopping mall, a restaurant, and so on, he needs to use a different approach, right? It's not going to be, hey, I've been noticing you around. I think you're very attractive. Will you go out with me tonight? Obviously, that line isn't going to work in a bar because she's already out that night. So that particular line would need to be slightly modified in order to make it work in a bar environment. For example, he could say, hey, I noticed you from across the bar. You look very attractive, so I thought I'd come over and say hi. By saying it that way, he's not asking her out right away, which wouldn't make any sense, of course. Instead, he's starting the conversation in a charming way and can then make her feel sparks of attraction for him by flirting with her. He can then connect with her, and when the time is right, he can take things to the next level, such as getting her phone number, kissing her, maybe having sex that night, or if it's just a phone number, he can set up a date when he calls her. Then they can kiss and maybe have sex on the first, second, or third date, and a dating relationship or even a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship will most likely begin from there. So each situation that you meet women in is going to be slightly different. Yet despite the differences in the approach that you need to take, the key lesson here is that many women will act as though they're hard to get when they're not. Right? The same thing applies to women in bars. Many women will sit around or stand around and they will seem like they're hard to get. And there are many reasons for that, one of which I'll discuss in secret number 4. But before we get to that, one of the reasons is that in a bar environment, a woman doesn't want to make herself seem too approachable to guys who are drunk, right? She doesn't want the drunk guys who are building up their courage by drinking lots of alcohol to see that she's open and friendly and they can come over and talk to her. Instead, she wants a guy who has the confidence to come over and talk to her, even though she's not making it obvious that she wants a guy to come over and talk to her. Additionally, another reason is that if she looks too open and eager and she wants guys to approach her, she may get guys approaching her who don't actually really like her and will only want to have sex with her once, or may just want to make her feel attracted, build up their confidence, and then go talk to another woman. So many women will act as though they're hard to get when secretly they're easy to get, or fairly easy to get if a guy just gives himself the chance. If he gets over there, has an interaction with her, creates a spark, and gets something going between him and her. Number 2, most have a fantasy list of requirements for a man, but don't actually stick to it in real life. One thing that I want to make 100% clear is that I'm not talking about dating apps like Tinder or Bumble. On dating apps like those, a woman usually has all the power, right? For example, with Tinder, if she's in a big city, tens of thousands of guys are swiping on her, hoping to get a match. And all she has to do is go through the app and swipe on guys that are her ideal type or her fantasy type, fantasy list of requirements, and she's almost certainly going to get matches. Then, if she wants to, she can chat with that guy, and if the guy knows how to get her out on a date, he can organize a date with her. Yet, the reality is that most of the women who have used Tinder have never actually gone on a date as a result of the app. I actually got a comment recently from a guy who ran a bit of a test on a dating app where he put himself down as a CEO and said that he liked to buy lots of cars and he was into collecting cars and some other thing that identified him as being a rich guy. And he said that he got loads of likes on that compared to his exact same profile with the exact same photos and him saying that he was a manager in sales. That's the reality with dating apps, because a woman usually has all the power. She can just select from the tens of thousands of guys who are hoping to get a chance with her. Yet, although many women definitely do use dating apps to go on dates, most don't. Additionally, most of the users of Tinder are men, so a woman usually has so many options that guys who would be able to get a chance with her in person aren't ever seen or aren't ever selected. Now, compare that to talking to a woman in person and a guy has a much higher chance of getting an instant yes compared to waiting around and hoping that he'll be selected out of tens of thousands of guys who are swiping on a woman on a dating app. So in this age of dating apps, a lot of guys feel insecure around single women. They feel as though every single woman is using Tinder and Bumble to go on loads of dates, and she can select from all these top amazing men who are totally successful and have got all these traits that she's looking for. Yet the reality is that most women don't go on dates via dating apps. And number 2, most women don't actually feel confident about being with a guy who is so successful or so attractive with all these top tier qualities. Of course, some pretty women are very confident and they go for tall, successful, handsome, and rich men. But some pretty women go for normal, everyday guys. The reality is that some pretty women feel so much more at home and confident with a normal, everyday guy compared to a very handsome or successful man, because she worries that the very handsome, successful man might not be faithful to her, or that he will be faithful and she'll fall in love with him, but he will then get bored of her and dump her because she's not pretty enough to maintain his interest. Not every pretty woman has that insecurity, of course, but quite a lot of them do, which is why many of them happily get into relationships with and even marry normal, everyday guys. Additionally, some pretty women even date guys who others may see as being scruffy, but she will love him based on his personality and how he makes her feel. Some pretty women also go for men who are overweight or bald, even though the guy isn't very successful in life. Not all pretty women do that, but some do. The reason why is that so many women feel so much more comfortable and at home with a normal, everyday guy who makes her feel attracted for reasons other than these top tier, totally high status qualities like he's the CEO of this, he is the owner of all these yachts, he does this, he does that, and so on. Most women just don't feel confident in their ability to hold a guy like that down. Additionally, they don't see themselves as being the sort of woman who will live that type of lifestyle. She is just a normal, everyday girl. Yes, she is pretty, but like most pretty women, she ends up with guys who are just normal guys. Her and a guy paying rent and living together. Her and a guy saving up for a deposit on their home and eventually getting a house together, eventually getting married and then having children and so on. Some pretty girls are just normal, everyday girls and will happily hook up with, get into a relationship with, and even marry a normal, everyday guy. Of course, don't get me wrong. There are some pretty girls and beautiful women who have extremely high standards in real life, and they will stick to those standards no matter what. The guy has to be what she sees as very good looking or very good looking and rich. Otherwise, she won't be interested at all. If she sees a guy as being ugly, below average looking, or even just average looking, then she won't be interested. Likewise, with some women like that, if the guy is not rich or very successful in life, then she just won't be interested. Those women definitely do exist, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that every pretty woman and every beautiful woman will go for a normal everyday guy, because they won't. For example, you may have seen some of the reality shows called WAGs, right? Wives and girlfriends of sports stars and athletes, or the rich wives of this place and that place. There are some women who have really high standards when it comes to men, but the reality is that some of those WAGs women definitely are attractive, but many of them really aren't super amazing attractive girls, especially when they take off their makeup. Instead, most women like that have very specific standards when it comes to men and only want to be with a successful athlete, so they go out of their way to be around those men and try to get one to marry them. That's their thing. Yet the majority of pretty girls out there don't see themselves as being one of the 0.001% of women who end up with a high status sports star, a celebrity, a CEO, and so on. The girl might sometimes fantasize about that, just like a guy might sometimes fantasize about being with a certain model or whatever, but it doesn't mean that she's going to stick to that in real life, right? It doesn't mean that a guy has to be high status in society, be some big shot in order to get a chance with her. The reality is that some pretty girls go for guys like that, but some pretty girls go for normal, everyday guys. So what happens for a lot of single guys these days is that they see the way that women behave on dating apps, or they look at the results that they haven't been getting on dating apps, and then they think, well, if I can't even get a match out of all these thousands of girls, how is a girl in real life going to react to me? He may think, do I have to approach 1,000 girls before I can get myself a girlfriend? No girl is going to like me because I don't get any likes on Tinder. I don't get any girls contacting me on Bumble. Why should they want to talk to me in person? They obviously don't find me attractive. Yet a small percentage of men know the secret that I'm going to tell you now, whereas the vast majority of men do not know it. And many of those men go their entire life never knowing it. This secret of female to male attraction, which applies to the majority of women out there, including most beautiful and pretty women, is that in many cases, you can make a woman feel intense attraction for you as you talk to her, even if you're not her usual type or the sort of guy that she assumed she would go for. You can do this as you talk to her by displaying personality traits and behaviors that are naturally attractive to women, such as confidence, charisma, charm, being a bit of a challenge, being emotionally masculine, flirting with her to create a sexual vibe, and so on. Of course, it's not possible for a guy to pick up every woman in the world, but he can attract and pick up many women, including beautiful and pretty women. One of the reasons why this is possible and why it happens all over the world is that although many women do have a fantasy list of requirements for a man, they don't always stick to it in real life. So many guys don't ever discover this secret about attracting women, so they go through their life believing that they're not good enough for pretty women, even though other guys who look like them, who look similar to them, or who don't even look as good as them are able to get themselves a pretty girlfriend or wife. The way that it works is that when you make a woman feel sparks of attraction for you in person, she starts looking at you with attraction in her eyes. Her perception of you changes. She starts looking at you and thinking, there's something about this guy. I like him. He's cute. He's sexy. I don't normally go for guys like him, but there's something about him. I really like him. A similar thing can happen to guys, but it usually takes a little bit longer than it takes for girls. For example, a guy may meet a girl that he's not initially attracted to, but when he spends time with her, she grows on him. Then he really starts to find her attractive. He looks at her and he thinks, I really like this girl. I really want to be with her. And he falls in love with her. He has a relationship with her, even though initially he wasn't that attracted to her, right? She grew on him. Now, as I said, it usually takes a lot longer for a guy to experience that compared to a woman. When you're talking to a woman, that can happen within the first 1 to 2 minutes. With most women, all it usually takes is 1 to 2 minutes of conversation where you display personality traits and behaviors that are naturally attractive to women, and she feels sparks of attraction for you. This is where so many single guys get confused, because they hear that women don't place as much importance on a man's physical appearance as men place on a woman's physical appearance, but that doesn't seem to make sense, because women say, that guy's good looking, he's sexy, he's handsome. So what's going on? Well, what's going on is that when a man can make a woman feel attracted to him for reasons other than his physical appearance, such as him being confident, emotionally masculine, flirting with her, being charming or charismatic, she starts looking at his physical appearance in a positive light. She starts thinking, well, I don't normally go for bald guys, but I find this guy attractive. I don't normally go for guys who look like this or that, but there's something about him. I really like him. So for the single guys watching this video, and even for the guys who are in a relationship with a woman and she isn't feeling attracted to him the way that she used to, just understand that you can make women feel attracted to you as you talk to them and interact with them. And when you do that, a woman looks at you as being attractive, appealing, and desirable. Additionally, this is a feeling and a perception of you that can continue throughout an entire lifetime relationship or marriage. Finally, one other thing about this secret is that you may have heard some women say about their boyfriend or their husband, I wasn't initially attracted to him, but once we started talking, I felt attracted to him. I really liked him. We started dating, we got into a relationship, we fell in love, and we've been happy ever since. In other words, in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases, a guy does not have to look like a woman's usual type in order to attract her, hook up with her, get into a relationship with her, and even marry her. Now, some guys will say, yeah, it's money, the guy must be rich, but the majority of people aren't rich, right? The majority of couples pay rent together, they save up to buy a house together, they pay bills together, they work, and they're just normal, everyday people, right? Don't write it off as, oh, it's looks, oh, it's money, right? Yes, money can attract women, looks can attract women, but you know what else can attract women? When you interact with them and display personality traits and behaviors that are naturally attractive to women, such as confidence, charisma, emotional masculinity, flirting, humor, and so on. That doesn't mean that a guy can pick up every woman in the world, but it does mean that a guy can access beautiful, pretty women who go for normal, everyday guys. If he's a normal, everyday guy. If he's more than that, then great. But if he's a normal, everyday guy, like most guys who end up with a pretty woman, then he can make her feel attracted to him as he talks to her, because although she may have a fantasy list of requirements for a man, she doesn't actually stick to it in real life. Instead, like many women, she goes with how she feels. So if a normal everyday guy makes her feel attracted to him in person, then she opens up to potentially going on a date with him, having sex with him, or having a relationship with him. Okay, the third secret about single women. Most really like it when they feel the need to impress a guy to be accepted by him. What usually happens with women and the dating process? It's usually guys trying to hopefully impress the woman to get a chance with her. Right? The guy is on his best behavior. He's being extra nice, extra polite. He is offering her things. He is trying really hard to hopefully be accepted by her. Yet, what a small percentage of men know is that most single women really like it when they feel the need to impress a guy to be accepted by him, and that even continues into a relationship. Now, don't get me wrong, right? It's not about treating a woman like crap, treating her badly, taking her for granted in a relationship. It's not about telling a woman that you don't care about her in the dating process, ignoring her, saying, I don't give a crap about you, and so on. It's not about that. Instead, just think about what happens with a woman when a man feels the need to impress her and hopefully be accepted by her. Is she treating him like crap? Or is she just giving him the sense that he needs to impress her to be accepted by her? Who made up that rule? Who said that she was the one who could do that? Well, the man allowed it to happen by him not taking on that role. Not taking on the role of the one who is selecting and allowing, right? He is taking on the role of the one who is hoping and trying. Yet, most single women love it when a guy is a good guy and treats her well, but makes her feel like she needs to impress him to be accepted by him. That usually results in a woman trying harder to impress the guy by being nicer, doing nice things for him, being cuter, being more feminine, and so on. Then when the guy accepts of her and allows her to be his girlfriend, she feels lucky. She feels special. She feels like the chosen one, right? Just like a guy feels when he gets accepted by a girl that he's been trying to impress. Yet what happens is that when a guy puts himself in the position where he's trying to impress a girl to hopefully get a chance with her, and then she reluctantly gives him a chance, and he then tries harder and harder to impress her and maintain her interest, she loses respect and attraction for him, and the relationship falls apart. Whereas when it's the other way around, where the girl is trying hard to impress the guy, being a good girl, being more feminine, being more fun and nice, and the guy is treating her well, then the relationship feels amazing for both of them. Number 4, most love sex, but have to act like they don't for various reasons. One of the main reasons why is that most guys don't feel as though they can trust a woman who is really into sex and is chasing it. If a woman shows a lot of interest in sex and openly talks about it, a guy might think that she is slutty and untrustworthy. On the other hand, if she holds out too long during the dating phase or seems uninterested in sex, a guy may stop pursuing her and find another woman. So if she openly talks about sex, seems really into it and is chasing it, most guys will look at her as being a slut. If she holds back and doesn't have sex, most guys will look at her as being a prude. Right? So the sweet spot for a woman is to not seem like she's really into sex, not seem like she would love to have sex, but instead to show a guy that she can control herself. If he has a relationship with her, he can rely on her to control herself, to not be one of those women who go around openly talking about sex, chasing it, and acting horny all the time. So what happens for a lot of single guys who don't understand this particular secret well is that they'll see that women don't react to them in the same way that they react to women, right? A guy will look at a woman and immediately feel attracted to her, immediately say yes or no in his mind about whether or not he would have sex with her. He will look at her when she's walking along the street or wherever she may be. He'll be feeling attracted and will want something to happen. Yet women walk through the world as though they don't even see guys, right? They're just walking along. She goes to a cafe, she orders her coffee, she sits down. She's not sitting down and looking at a guy's butt as he walks past like a guy will do when a woman walks past, right? She's just sitting there playing with her phone or doing whatever she's doing, keeping to herself and not looking around as though she's hoping to get some sex. So a small percentage of men know that. They go through life not expecting women to react to them in the same way that they react to women. They understand why women have to behave in that way, right? A woman can't show that she really likes sex. Otherwise, most guys would feel as though they couldn't trust her if they got into a relationship with her and that's how she behaved out in public. Number 5, most act like they are happy to be single, even though many of them are secretly miserable about it. Once again, women do this to not seem low value, cheap, and easy, right? She doesn't want to go through her everyday life interacting with guys, showing that she's really keen and trying to get herself a boyfriend. If a girl is behaving like that, most guys will look at her as being low value, or they'll look at her as being weird, because most girls don't behave like that, especially the girls that he really likes, right? The attractive girls who are used to men making the mistake of trying hard to hopefully impress her to get a chance with her don't behave as though they're hoping to get a boyfriend. They don't go around looking at guys and talking to them and hoping that a guy will like them. Instead, the majority of single women will behave as though they're totally fine without a guy. They couldn't care less. But the reality is that when she goes home and she's alone in her bed, or if she catches up with a friend who's happy in a relationship, she feels left out. She wants to have a boyfriend, but she's struggling to get one. The thing is though, if a guy looked at her when she was waiting in a line at Starbucks, or if she was sitting alone in a cafe, or if she was at a bar with friends, she wouldn't necessarily look like a girl who is hoping and is desperate to get herself a boyfriend. She will almost certainly just display body language that suggests she can't even see the men in the room. She doesn't even care about the men, when in fact, she's hoping to get herself a boyfriend. She's hoping that a normal guy will come over and say hello to her, there'll be a spark between him and her, and they can start dating and have a relationship. So what happens for a lot of single guys is that they go through their life and they see women that they find attractive, but because the woman isn't displaying open, interested body language right away before he has approached her, he will assume that she must have a boyfriend, or that she wouldn't want him to come over and say hello. Yet the reality is, as you saw from the study near the start of the video, a little more than half of the women said yes when a guy immediately asked them out, even though they didn't know anything about him. In other environments where you can meet women, if you want to get the same or better result, then what you need to do is have a bit of an interaction with a woman first, where you make her feel attracted to you by displaying personality traits and behaviors that are naturally attractive to women. With most women, you only need to do that for 1 to 2 minutes. Some women require longer, that's for sure, but with most women, all it requires is a 1 to 2 minute conversation where you make her feel a spark for you, and she will feel attracted to you. She will open up to the interaction and she will say yes when you ask for her phone number. By the way, if you're one of the guys who finds it difficult to walk up and talk to women, or if you don't know what to say to make women feel attracted to you, if you don't know how to connect with them immediately and make them want to give you their phone number or kiss you, go out on a date with you and so on, then I recommend that you read my ebook, The Flow, or listen to the audiobook version, The Flow on Audio. When you read The Flow or listen to The Flow on Audio, you will learn my best ever conversation starters, ways to make women feel immediately attracted to you, ways to make women feel increasingly attracted to you as you talk to them, how to connect with women, how to make women want to contribute to the conversation and get to know you, how to initiate touch in a way that she wants and welcomes, how to get her phone number, how to initiate a first kiss, how to initiate sex on the first night, or how to get her out on a date with you and initiate a kiss and sex on the first date, or if you want to wait longer than that, second, third, fourth date, it's totally up to you. All you have to do is follow the simple steps of the flow and you and a woman flow smoothly from one step to the next. It's the easiest way to get laid or get a girlfriend. One final point that I want to make for you in this video is that many times throughout your single life, you will meet an attractive girl, a pretty woman who is interested in you. But if you're not able to pick up on the subtle signs that she's attracted, or if you don't have the confidence to move things forward from a conversation to a phone number, date, and so on, then you will miss out on so many opportunities with pretty women, beautiful women who really were interested in you. So it's important to understand why women behave in the ways that they do, so you don't have to feel insecure around them. Instead, you can feel confident knowing that they're behaving in a certain way because they have to. You don't need to lose confidence because of that. Instead, you can feel more confident knowing that you're one of the small percentage of men who actually understands what's going on. You can then start making moves, right? You can ask a girl out, you can ask for her phone number, you can move things forward, and before you know it, you'll be having sex or a relationship with a woman of your choosing.